Great, great. Welcome to the webinar today. We're super excited to be back here with the one and only Mr. Steve Rich. I'm going to go through and just kind of explain a little bit about who he is and how incredible he is, how lucky we are to have him on our team, right, and working with us. So Steve was the youngest VP and CMO at a $2.5 billion company, giving him the ability to use his incredible creative skill set to help smaller companies grow and become, real big players in the market that they were in. Moving on from that, he decided to retire at a young age, and people wouldn't let him retire because he was too skilled at what he did. When I started working with Steve, I was in a networking group, and I got up and introduced myself. And this guy sitting next to me, I didn't know him. I'd never met him before. But he stood up after me and he said, she works with Steve Rich, and he is the greatest ideas man I have ever met in my life. And I just thought, wow, that's quite the compliment. So I have spent the last however many years learning at his feet and being able to be around him and truly seeing that he truly is the greatest ideas man you will ever meet in your life. And the things that he's come up with and the ways that he has transformed businesses is what gives creed to that title, right? It gives him the ability to say he is as amazing as he is. Um, so we're going to jump in today to talk more about the Business Growth Blitz, which is something that Steve has created. It's something that he designed. It's something that he has put together to help companies of all sizes, giant corporations down to small mom and pop shops, um, build and grow and become amazing at what they do. So let's walk through a little bit about the Business Growth Blitz.
Great. Thank you. Wow. Thank you for that introduction. That was awesome. We are blessed here. We work with an incredible team of some of the best and brightest minds and actually fun people to be around. It keeps us laughing a whole lot of the time. Yeah, talk about this business growth blitz. What we looked at is as we went out there, we saw in the marketplace, there's a lot of people that either were starting a business or had even been in business for 10, 15 years who just felt like the business wasn't flowing or marketing the way it should. And so we put together this business growth blitz to talk about some of the basics and the things that you really should start with to have a great strategy moving forward. The neat thing about this is it's really taken off. We've had, I don't know, over 500 companies send people through this and go through this. And we have a lot of them that even come back and say, hey, sign me already up for one for next year, because every year they want to come back to the basics. And even though we update the information, they want to be there because it helps them determine, the direction. All these things are just some of the different sessions that we go through. When we first start out, one of the things we start out is what does it mean to be a number two? And you'll see that on a lot of the stuff that we do is be a number two. What that is based upon is with my experience as being a vice president, when I was pretty young when I was first made that vice president, I wanted to do the best job I could, and I wanted to shine. And one thing I found that my job, my actual responsibility is whatever I could do to make the CEO, his life easier, make him look better, make him sound better, whatever I could do to create that situation. He was a great man, and he did a lot of that on his own, but still as a vice president, that was my job. And so I would look for opportunities to do that. I'd look for ways to talk about him. I'd go in, to meetings early and tell stories about his accomplishments and build him up. And anyway, that really worked. And then when I left there, and like Suzanne said, I got talked into restarting this company, this marketing company we have, is as I did that, I went out there, it was just me. And I'd go to meetings and I would sit in some of these network meetings and I would look around the room and I would see people there talking and I would see that they would ask questions like, I wish I had a contact with this guy, or I wish I knew the best way to do this, to do this type of marketing. And I knew all that stuff because I'd done it for all those years and did it for a bunch of things. And I could tell those people that, but I also didn't want to come across as a cocky or know-it-all type guy. And I remember thinking, God, I wish I had an executive vice president here that could tell people that, hey, Steve would love to help you with that. And by the way, if Steve pulls you aside and shows you how to help, doesn't mean he's going to charge you. He's just doing it because he believes in helping businesses and help businesses grow. I wish I had somebody that could vouch for me a little bit there to just to break the ice. But as I looked around the room, I could see that everybody in there could probably use that, right? Everybody could use a number two, somebody that could talk about their experience or talk about, some of the things they do. One of the best things that we can do for other people is it's really hard to do is if somebody needs to share that they're honest. If I try to share that I'm honest, I will sound dishonest, or there might have been a problem. That's something that's really hard to do for yourself, but other people that have experienced working with you and being around you, that it's easy for them to do it and do it with passion that's felt. And so that's the one thing that I decided that day was that I'm going to start being a number two for anybody that I work with that I feel like are doing a great job, that have great effort, are very honest. And even if I'm not personally, like I said, they're not a client or they're not working, if I see them doing a good job, I take the opportunity and shout out for them. And we talk about that as being the number one way to grow your business is to first be a number two and lift other businesses around you. And we get into way more detail of how to do that in this class, what to do, what to look for. And you'll see that by just having that as your attitude, it'll naturally draw people to your company and to you. And then just going down through the next stuff there, we talked about guerrilla style marketing. And just real quick on that is, I don't know how many of you have read that book written by J. Conrad Levinson called Guerrilla Marketing, but it was huge book. I think it was ended up being in something like reprinted in like 18 different languages and all over the world. But the idea behind it was, how do I do stuff that stand out? And sometimes might even be less money, but mostly how do I do stuff that either make a connection or stand out? One of the neat things about guerrilla style marketing is we really get into those details. And really early in my career, that's kind of how how we won, how the stores that I was working with, the stores that I was in charge of, how we made it is we put together guerrilla marketing style stuff that didn't cost us as much as what the big guys are paying, but made a much bigger impact. And in fact, such a big impact that their sales and profits continue to go through the roof. And then it became that people were desiring us, and then eventually people wanted me to come and help them with bigger chains and other stores there to show them how to do that and make that emotional connection.
So talk us through then being a number two, kind of let's put a number on that since that's what a lot of us are used to doing, right? So if you have a number two or you are a number two for other people, typically what does that bring in monthly revenue wise for a
So
company?
for like an average size company, you can honestly look at that alone, that effort alone, of probably bringing you in 20K more a month.
So 20,000 more a month by
Yeah,
being a number two and having number twos,
yeah,
because that just creates a lot of word of mouth type of stuff.
yeah,
So if you're to sit down with a coach, right, and have
yeah.
them teach you the proper ways of doing it, um, and then something you can go and implement, like what is like cost of having that? And that would be like more of like a one-time
Yeah,
type of a
that's
cost,
probably
but
a one-time deal going through. Once you learn it, you know it, you can go through it. But that's
sure.
still probably about 15K. I again, we have other types of programs out there, but if you were to go get this type of help out there right now, it probably cost you 15K to go
About
through it.
15. Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So then talk to us about the guerrilla marketing efforts that
yeah,
you highlight, right? That you teach you
yeah.
yourself. If done properly, like what are they looking at or
That's
to
yeah.
revenue wise,
A
excuse me.
standard mid-sized business, and this is probably huge in some people's eyes, but I've seen it happen so many times, is this could actually increase by 50K a month by just doing this right. And again, part of this is because you're doing stuff different than other people, a lot of times this actually costs you less than the money that you're spending right now. But but you get way more income.
So if they were to go, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're 13, correct?
Yeah,
13 Gorilla Master market, or excuse me,
master trainers.
Gorilla Marketing Master Trainers in the world,
Yeah,
right? Not just in the United States, this is in the world,
yeah,
13 of you. And you're one of those.
yeah,
And that's huge.
yeah,
Congratulations. That's
yeah.
amazing. So if
Thanks.
somebody wanted to like go in for a training with you or with somebody else in the Gorilla Master Trainers,
Yeah,
what would the monthly cost of that to be a coach
probably close to 25K,
a
and
month?
yeah, a month. And
Okay.
again, we have other types of programs, but I just know what other guys charge, and for them, for most people, it's well worth it because of the increase
For
in
sure.
sales.
Absolutely.
But that's about
You're
what they.
making double what it's
Yeah,
costing you then. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. So walk us through positioning then. How does that kind of
So
affect someone's marketing?
this is one of the things that a lot of people don't do when they start a company. They just try to mimic whatever their competitors are doing when they start out, or hey, I can. But really, positioning is key part of your strategy, and one of the first things that you want to do. And what that does is it comes down to you basically take a look at what could you deliver better than anybody else. And so, whatever competitors or anybody else out there, what could you deliver? And it's actually helping you define what those are, and then checking the importance of that to the actual consumer, right? Whoever's the customer or client is, what, how do they think that's important? Do they think that's the main thing of the decision making uh, factor so that they buy your product? So with positioning, one of the things that we do is we actually get through, we study what your strengths are. We actually do a competitive study. We look at your marketplace. We do kind of a gap analysis and say, okay, you know, this company is known for this. This company says this a lot in their marketing, but according to the reviews, they're not really achieving that. So they don't own it. I mean, they're trying to, they're putting it out there, but they failed. But by looking at that whole scope, you come back and say, okay, where can you be positioned where you can succeed the most? Where can you really take off and go to the next level? And one of the neat things about that is even with companies that have been around 10, 15 years, all of a sudden, when they understand their position and they just focus that effort on that, you're able to really see some growth and really see some great things come from positioning.
From positioning properly.
Yeah.
So if they were to position properly, what like revenue could come in every
So
month for that?
here, I'll just to give you an example. We worked with a chiropractor at one point, and this chiropractor had bought out the previous owner of it and was starting in. It was a great lady, and it just so happened that some of the area that she was serving had a bunch of seniors in it, and she was all excited she was going to be able to make lots of money and pay off this guy who she's buying the practice from. But as people saw that it was a female rather than a male that was adjusting, a lot of them didn't keep their appointments, turned around and went away. And so she was in a panic, but she had all these other strengths to position herself. And, you know, if you go through the class, I'll show you all that detail of what goes on there. But the neat thing is we were able to turn that around really quick. And by using positioning her, instead of her concentrating on a 3 block radius around her location, we were able to have her cover most of the state and actually draw in way more profit, and and really increase her profitability and sales, and in a matter of a short time, just by her positioning herself just a little bit different.
So would you say that that would bring in, I mean, close to what guerrilla marketing could bring
Yeah,
in
I'd
a
probably
month?
say maybe a 30K
Okay.
might be a month.
Okay. And then for the monthly cost to have like an actual coach, would you say 15, 20,000 a month for that, for a monthly or for a coach? Or
Yeah, I would. Depending on the size of that, um, yeah, probably. Let's put 15
yeah, it's a good
is
number.
probably what that would do to get
Okay.
to there.
Awesome. So how have events, like how would those work to bring in, and why do those work, I
Okay,
guess?
events are huge, and to do events right, you have to really do. And a lot of the event success is really based upon the planning beforehand and the pre-execution rather than just the event itself. And then also, how do you follow up? And so if you take care of the pre and the follow up in a great way, you'll have long lasting benefits of an event. It's not just going to last for one time. When we work with people on here, that's one of the biggest ways to create way more word of mouth, way more people that know you and respect you. We talk about that's the best way to anchor in people's hearts and minds what you deliver. And I got a great story in here that I'll tell you about and show you the actual case study of a mattress store that was really struggling. And part of it was because people, even though they were in a good location, people really didn't know they had too many other businesses around them. People didn't notice. They didn't stand out. They weren't. And so for the first 4 years they were open, they got by. They made some money, but not much. It wasn't getting where they needed. We worked with them. We put together a great event, and I love in Blitz. I love to tell you all the details that we did. Just little things in there, and it wasn't cost. It wasn't spending a whole bunch of money, but it was doing some efforts that involved the community. Did an event for them, and they ended up doubling their sales monthly, and that kept going for years. Of that they stayed above that double mark, just by doing the right type of an event.
So, and just by that, with that event, right, it generated a ton of word of mouth.
Yeah,
That
tons of word of mouth. It kept for months. And like a mattress store is, most of us don't buy a new mattress every month or even every year, right? And so part of this event really was to say, okay, how do we make us the mattress store for whenever people need it? If it's 5 years from now, 3 years, whatever, how do we make us be the one that they think of and go to and check first and work with? And so that's what it did, is it created that word of mouth so that even other people, when people would talk about, hey, I need a mattress. Oh, you got to go here. Here's the place you go. These guys are great. They're fun. They're good company.
because it becomes your mattress store, right? It
Exactly.
becomes like,
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
got a guy, let me give that information to you.
Yeah.
So how much, you said it doubled what they brought in, right?
Yeah. And so they an average mattress store in the Western side, they were averaging right around 30 grand in sales a month. And they instantly went to over 60 grand and stayed above 60 grand. So for them, but an average company, mid-range company, you can raise, I mean, they did more than this, but I would say about 25K.
Okay. And then to have a coach kind of walk you through and make sure you're doing everything properly every month, to get this kind of a number, how much would you say that would cost a
A lot of the
monthly?
guys out there that are charging for that right now are charging right around 10,000 a month.
10,000 a month.
And
Okay.
that's to coach them along and show them the actions and all the details.
Okay. But I mean, it's still, you're still making well over what you're paying. So
Yeah.
it's definitely worth that.
Yeah.
Awesome. So walk us through some segmentation and targeting.
Okay. Segmentation and targeting is, as marketing's changed over the decades, it used to be that, I mean, if you could afford to get a TV commercial, then you did great because that's what everybody looked at and everybody believed it. And there was 3 channels and if you got on all 3, wow, you're doing great. Today, none of us watch TV commercials very much. We have other types of stuff that hitting us, but also the technology is such that we have certain messages that come to us based on our age, our life stage. It might be what our hobbies are, what our interests are. And if you can tap into that, then you can better resonate with people. That's the whole idea behind segmentation and targeting is no company should just say, oh, my target's anybody, they'll give me money. Now, I'm still, please go ahead and take money from anybody. That's great. But to actually target your efforts mean, where am I going to spend my most time and money? And it should be on your most profitable opportunities. We help you go through and identify what those are. And it's never just one target, never ever. If you have just one target, then you're watering down the edges of it. Like, say your target was women, to to resonate with the millennial woman and a senior woman. Yeah, those are two different things you have to come up with. And so you never want to have just one target. But we help you identify which of those are the best. We had I get a great case study I'll show you about a coffee store a coffee shop that was threatened by a big national chain. You guys might be able to guess which one. But they were in a very wealthy area. But they were worried. They had just the one location. They were worried about this coming in. And with us really going in and segmentation and targeting who are the best. We actually train the people. Okay, who are the people? All right, now let's change everything we offer to focus on mostly those people, and like what time are we open, what products do we carry, how do we treat them. And with that, it turned out to be so neat. Is I haven't heard about this in other locations very often because that big national company has a whole lot of money, can stick around. But this one, honestly, only lasted 6 or 7 months and then closed their doors and left the area. But what's neat is that was a few years ago. When I go into that store today, they still tell me how many of this target they had to this morning. Hey, Steve, we had 14 Mrs. Jones and 3 Mrs. Andersons. We name what those targets are, and they know that these are the ones that are going to spread the word. They're going to help with the word of mouth. These are the targets that'll be us the most profit. And so that's a huge part that a lot of companies never get around to really figuring that out. They just like, okay, I'll take money from anybody that's willing to pay. And like I say, still do that, but by targeting your efforts where you're directing your money and your time, you'll get way more
So in addition, then, so
profits.
they're taking money from whoever is stopping in, right? But in addition to that, how much money can they see if they're segmenting properly?
I'd say about 30K.
Okay, a month.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, and then to have a coach working with them every single month, doing it with them, how much would they be spending?
A lot of times because a lot of them use detailed software to determine where that's out there, but that's probably around 15K a month.
Okay. Wow. All right. So walk us through some email campaigns. What are TV spots? Like, is that like commercials or?
Okay, now the great question. So TV spots, what we call is this a type of marketing called buzz marketing, where you create this buzz. And basically, what I've seen, what our team has seen out there is most of us need three things that we have to cover for us to decide to make a purchase, right? We have to, first of all, feel like we're not going to get cheated. And so integrity is important with whoever you're buying something from or trying to negotiate. Credibility is important, and it's a little bit different than integrity. Credibility is, can they really deliver? And I always talk about, I've got this great nephew of mine who is really, really smart, graduated in financial planning, and he is honest as the day is long. And when he has a few years under his belt, then I might give him some of my stuff. But today, I'm not going to give it to him yet.
Yeah.
Not that I don't trust him. I trust him 100% for the credibility. And then also the third one is always likability. Is today you can't be a jerk. There was times in the past where if you're the only one providing it, you could still be a jerk to your customers. But today there's so many competitions out there. You got to treat your people well. Well, TV spots, what that is segmentation or segments that are actually on a TV program, like whatever your local talk is, or that TV program where they talk to local businesses, local people, local crafters, things like that. If you can get on one of those TV segments, then that's huge. And that adds to your credibility because it's not salesy. It's not a 30-second commercial. It's usually around 4 minutes you get on there, and they usually talk to you as an expert in your field. And you know, and so you get kind of that image out there with people that are watching. Hey, that person's great. They're top. They won't be on TV unless they weren't one of the leaders of it. Anyway, the TV spot thing is huge. We talk about how to do that, how to get on there. The best part of the TV segment, a lot of our clients look at, hey, getting on TV is going to be awesome. That is great. But really, the best part of it is the afterwards is you'll have a link to from your website to the TV station website that they'll keep on there for years to come. Those are great organic backlinks. You sometimes you pay an SEO guy to get you those type of backlinks or get you some. These are organic, tied to you, that are real powerful, strong, and will bring people in. The other part is just having that as seen on ABC TV or CBS or whatever station you're on, being able to put that on your page and then showing your little clip of your 4 second or 4 minutes out there in email blasts and other things really builds your credibility. What we do is we usually will take, if somebody has been on a segment, as soon as we get the segment back, like a day or two after, we usually like to send out an email campaign to people and say, did you miss this? And we actually include the video in there. That makes that email get the open rate on it way bigger, and it reaches more people. And sometimes we're able to even add more detail or contact information or that type of thing.
Awesome. So what would you say doing this properly with the email campaigns at each month, TV spots, like what would the
Roughly around 25K.
25K is what it would bring in?
Yeah.
And then the cost for the TV spots themselves, right? And setting up the email campaigns properly, what would you say the
Um,
monthly cost would be on that?
get somebody that has connections to negotiate that for you, because that's highly negotiated. We do it for people all the time, and they're like, when I called the station, it was twice that cost. So get somebody good there, but you're still looking at probably 10K a month to
Okay.
do that right.
All right. Awesome. Talk us through why it is important to connect with different types of people and how it is you know how to connect with those types of
Yeah.
people.
So that's one of the things that we really get into is a lot of us think that everybody thinks the same way we do. And I got to admit, I thought that way till I was at least into my mid 20s. And so I thought if people didn't think the same way I did, then they were wrong, or they were lazy, or they were inconsiderate, or whatever. But once you start really getting out there and working with people, you start to see is that person looks at things completely different. These things, charts and graphs, and this thing is the most important to this person. This other person, it's more of morale. What's it going to do? And for community belonging, what are the type of things that best, for that person resonate and makes them want to take action, makes them want to do things. Um, and all these different personality types. What we take you through is we show you there's a bunch of different programs out there that you can look at that will give you kind of there's the color program, there's um, bank code, there's quite a few different ones out there. We don't care which one you use, but we do think it's great for you to come back and say, okay, how is my marketing? Am I marketing to different people? Am I speaking their language? Because I speak the language for me, because I understand what motivates and gets me excited about purchasing or buying something. But what about this person or this person? Am I seeing what motivates them, and then am I providing that through my marketing? And that's actually a huge thing that once people get that they can see some good growth there, because quite often they've marketed their whole career to people that think just like they do, because they can see that, right? Then when they put out a print ad or they put out a social media post, they say, okay, yeah, that's what would inspire me. So that's easy for me to determine. Once you see that you can affect a lot of other people, that can be some huge growth. And so we show you, okay, how do I market to somebody who is, blueprint oriented? Hey, I want stuff that's exact. I want stuff in charts and graphs, and I want this. Okay, great. How do you market to them, and how do you market to somebody that's maybe more on the nurturing side or focused on that?
So they even have some with animals too, don't they?
They
Where
do.
you can
Even
be,
there's one I saw the other day that was like sea mammals.
oh,
Yeah. And so
that works.
whatever is, like I say, we don't care which program you use, but you need to understand that not everybody thinks exactly the same way you do, and how can I market to people that that speak, you know, that kind of different language.
Absolutely. So what would you say once they kind of hone down and understand who it is they're talking to and how it is to talk to them, how much could that increase the revenue?
I'm going to put this, and this is actually, if you do this right, it can be even way more than this. But really, 30K helps you get into people that you've never reached before, because you're appealing to them. You're understanding what motivates them.
That's okay. And so what would that a monthly coach, someone to
So
walk them through it every month and
there's programs out there, but most of them are charging somewhere around 20K.
okay, awesome. And then this is the big word that everybody knows right now, right? Or I guess the letters,
Yeah.
everybody. What everybody's wanting, right, is SEO.
Yeah.
Why is it important to really kind of dial into that and know what it is you're doing?
So today it used to be, if you look back over time, it used to be that people either bought in person, that at first, pretty soon it got so that they could buy over the phone. And now with with our capability to buy online with all online sales, being able to be found online is critical. And depending on your industry, some industries are even more critical than others, right? When somebody's looking for emergency type stuff, say you own a disaster company, You want to make sure that your SEO is right so that you are found quickly when somebody has a flood or has a fire or some kind of damage, because they're going to make that decision really quick, right?
Sure.
All other types of companies, you need to really come back and say, okay, what do we do here, or how do we stand out? How do we fit there? And we'll show you kind of the pluses and minuses of that. There are some things out there that some people sell or put out there that we don't believe in, and we'll tell you about those, what those are. We think that might not be a great spend of your money. We'll come back and say, here's what we would spend our money on or time on, and it's stuff that you can measure. You have actually KPIs in place so you can measure those results, and that's probably one of the big things with SEO. And with this, some people categorize search engine marketing with that SEM, basically, and that talks about, okay, if I am going to do any kind of ad spend on there, how am I going to do it, and what works, what's the best, how do I measure it, how do I know if I'm getting my money's worth, all those type of things. And so getting to there today, this is a huge part. In fact, your Google My Business page, I would say, is as important as your web page. You need to have both today. That to be found, that's important.
Okay, awesome. So if they have their SEO, SEM dialed in properly, how much do you think that could bring in? I mean, this is more of like a starting point, right?
Yeah, but still, you could see that much growth, which is pretty big.
That's
But doing that right, um, all of a sudden you're found. It's easy for people to find you. Most of us don't have patience nowadays, and so if it's hard for us to find people or hard for us to get a hold of a company, we give up. We just go with whatever we can find.
so to really pay somebody who knows exactly what it is they're doing each month to kind of oversee that for you, what can they pay out for that?
Right now, I would. There's a lot of companies that are looking for that type of growth would charge you about 25K.
Okay. So adding all of this stuff up, this is around 250,000 a month that they're bringing in, but they're spending around 135,000 to do that. I mean, it's still worth it, right?
Yeah,
So it costs 135,000 each month, but you're making 250,000. So that's worth it, don't you think? Or
I definitely think it's worth it, and a lot of people do that.
yeah.
Probably the neat thing is with our program, we can teach you a bunch of these type of things. And then even if you hire somebody else to do pieces of it, you know what to measure, you know what to look for, and you're not spending as much on there. But
So for if they were to work with somebody like our marketing, right?
yeah,
Um, you're saying you could cut this in half essentially, right? So you're looking around maybe 70,000.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't need that in there.
yeah,
So it wouldn't cost 135,000. It costs around
yeah,
70,000, you say,
yeah.
for that.
That's kind of where right now, if you were to look at all that, that's probably where that would be. And you think about that over a year, that's what a little bit more than 5 grand a month to get that kind of results. Um,
Sure.
Now, we do have, and I'm not going to spoil with the price, but we do have our Business Growth Blitz launch is coming real soon. I could tell you how many days away it is, but then I'd have to kill you. It's top secret. Um, but uh, but when we've got this coming to, you'll be surprised that we've even reduced the price
From
off of that.
70,000.
Yeah,
Okay. Down closer to around 40,000.
yeah,
So you're looking to pay this right here, 40,000 to get the 250,000, correct? So
yeah.
this price number is going down, but this number is not,
Right,
right?
right.
So what they're
Yeah,
getting, this number right here is going down though.
yeah,
So okay.
yeah.
Um,
And again, this depends. I mean, this depends on you're you're serious about implementing, you're serious about doing your part. We show you the methods, we show you how to do it, we show what's there, and I have no trouble standing behind that number. But everybody we've seen has been able to do that.
absolutely. That's awesome. So, but you do consulting as well, correct? Like you do monthly strategy meetings with people.
Yeah, we been doing this. In fact, we're just starting this new strategy thing where people can do it every month, and we get on there and we talk about. We have different things we talk about. There's certain things that we talk about every single month, and then there's certain things like I'll just give you an example. There's a couple times a year where we do a big focus on past clients and getting them to regenerate, kind of reinvigorated to give you more referrals because of what we've done. And that might be twice a year. Certain things we do every quarter, and then there's certain things that every single month that we through this strategy that we show you, if you do these things, here's what you can expect on return.
Okay.
And then we keep track of that, and we keep track of numbers by some different industries, so we can kind of keep an average. Okay, if this is your industry, and we haven't done all industries yet, but we are keeping track of those numbers as we go, so we can show people kind of what they can expect to see growth wise.
Awesome. So in setting something like this up with you,
Yeah,
you're well below even these numbers right here.
Yeah,
7,200 a month, right?
You're right. But what if we change that number even for right now, just for this group, just for the people that are watching?
Like on today, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
okay. What would you like that to be then?
you might slap me, but I think we could do it for, I mean, I'd love to do it, get more people in there and charge them 3,000 a month.
Okay.
See, I knew you were going to slap me. But I think people real quick could see the benefit of that. They'll see the dollar benefit, the profit benefit. Plus, it just does you great to have somebody that's always talking to you about fun ideas, different things you can try. That's what we get from most people. They're just like, even if I wasn't seeing the increase, it'd be worth it to me just because of all the great ideas we get from you guys. And I mean, most of them do actually implement and get those kind of results. But
so can I?
Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So what if we did? Okay, we do 3,000 a month. We get okay. But what if we did that for just 12 months? Is that will work? Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll just do 3,000 a month for 12 months, and we can work with you on getting this kind of a number in that time frame. Does that work?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And the neat thing is yeah, that we can, I mean, we do case studies, we do measurements, and so when people come to us, they can say, okay, what can I expect? And sometimes they're shocked that we can come up with some exact numbers, but with the people we've worked with and share with us, I mean, we never share names of who shared it, but can share with us their results. That always helps, right?
For
I
sure.
always try to say, okay, if I spend this time and effort, what are the possibilities? Okay, if these two companies got this much, then I should be able to get at least that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So if they want to kind of get rolling on this, be added to the list for more information on the Blitz that's coming soon.
They need to, right up here, this is Suzanne. Email Suzanne or get a hold of us through the system here, through the podcast. But email her and let her know that you want to talk about this ASAP and get signed up. Because again, I can't continue to offer that, but for right now, let's go ahead and do that, and we'll see how many people that we get going on that, and then and we'll I know it's a little bit cheaper than what you had in mind, but I think that'd be great. I'd love to work with a bunch of guys and get them going on that.
Okay. All right. So again, email me. We'll put the email in the system here so that you can find that and shoot me an email. Let me know that you're interested in this, and we'll get you some information on the Blitz that will be coming out here soon. And yeah, we'd love to work with you.
So excited. Great ideas. Love to hear ideas or things that have worked for you too. If any of you guys just have stories, here's something I tried, here's something, we love that. Any of that type of stuff, send it in. And when you've had successes or even when you've had failures. I mean, we've had guys that had a great idea. They told me about it after I wasn't involved with it, but they had this great idea, but it didn't implement the way they thought it did. And they came back and said, oops, we won't do that again. But for us, that's great because it shows us, hey, this guy tried this, don't do it this way because this did not work.
Okay.
And so
I
anyway,
love that.
but a lot of great stuff.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Jump on, sign up today, and sign up often. We'll see you.